know what dirty moors, yeah. I know what dirty moors did to Drew Ali. I'm saying, I know what dirty moors did. I know what dirty moors did. I'm going at dirty rappers, lynching dirty moors too. Hiding literature that Drew wrote to warn you. They live to make you Muslim and make you sovereign. With paperwork and filings, they fiat, they robbing. They don't care about this words, throw it out like garbage, or throw it at you when you're active, not passive. When they wanna talk about like off a trampoline mattress, treat them like a vamp or a teen actress. Get stamped with the brand like a mean savage. This Inquisition divine, all others average. Millennium Renaissance, heroes in our classes. Fed up with the czar controlling facets. Ask if they heard about Moors, they say no. But Masons, they obviously know. Down the handshakes and rituals with skull and bones. They even know about owls burning Bohemian Grove. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. Dirty Moors killed Drew. I read the FBI papers. I'm loyal Moors, emergency fund rapers. Moorish literature and divine ballot changers. Might as well say Drew Ali was born in a manger. Prophet puts poison aside and his food smell danger. Got me treating every Moor like a stranger. Grand sheep punkin, stumbling drunk in their feds. What was proclaimed for every meeting was not read. Some Moors are so active, prophet can't be dead. Thanks Moorish teachers away, I can't be led. Actions speak, then I consider what's said. And what's said was study, then study yourself. Honest to the prophet over Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. Everybody wants to be just like Drew Ali, but nobody wants to care about Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to Drew Ali.
Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Interjection. I am your host, Supreme L, and want to give high honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Here on Pardon the Interjection, we dig up information to divulge to the people in the upliftment of fallen humanity. And yes, humanity has fallen. So now it's time for Babylon too. And the information, that I done came across is very, very intriguing to me. And it's a wonder why a lot of people are not on this information or do not know this information. And this information is coming straight from the top. And I'm not saying it's around the corner news or nothing like that, somebody's backyard gossip. No, this is in your face, documented facts. Facts, okay? And it's coming from the source. I ran across a special police officer bulletin, and of course I'm going through somewhat of a situation with traffic or quote driving, which I don't drive, I travel, and driving is commercial, which, they can't force you to do and say you doing something commercial. They can't force you to get a driver's license and drive commercial. All right. But this is something that's really, really, really interesting. Special Police Officer Bulletin. U.S. court decisions confirm driving a motor vehicle. Now, pardon the interjection. Let's get that now, because these terms and terminologies or terms, can get us confused. Like driving a motor vehicle. Motor vehicle term defines as driving a coach or automobile or vehicle for commerce or for commercial, and you're working and you're accepting pay, and you're accepting notes for that or whatever payments, and that's what vehicle or motor vehicle term means. So when you say you're traveling in your car, you're not using it for commerce. You're not gaining You're not gaining monetary funds for the use of the highways. You can't do that, supposedly, use the highways for private gain. Alright? But as we continue, U.S. court decisions confirm driving a motor vehicle is a citizen's right and not a government-granted privilege. And that's coming from Jack McLam from Aid and Abet newsletter. And this may be coming from the police or policy enforcers themselves, as we read and go on. For many years, professionals within the criminal justice system, pardon the interjection, criminal justice, how can a criminal have justice? But anyway, we go on. Criminal justice system have acted upon the belief that traveling by motor vehicle upon the roadway was a privilege that was gained by a citizen after only approval by their respective state government in the form of the issuance of a permit or license to do that particular individual. Pardon me. Legislators, police officers, and court officials, pardon the interjection, they're not really police officers, they're policy enforcers. Officers are elected. And we continue. And court officials are becoming aware that there are now court decisions that prove the fallacy of the legal opinion that driving is a privilege and therefore requires government approval, i.e. a license. Some of these cases are: Case 1. Even the legislature has no power to deny to a citizen the right to travel upon the highway and transport his property in the ordinary course of his business or pleasure. Through this right may be regulated, this right may be regulated in accordance with the public interest and convenience. Chicago Motor Coach vs. Chicago 196. Regulated here means traffic safety enforcement, stoplights, signs, etc. Not a privilege that requires permission, i.e. licensing, mandatory insurance, vehicle registration, etc. Case 2. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by carriage or by automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city may prohibit or permit at will, but a common right which he has under the right to live life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thompson versus Smith 154. It could not be stated more conclusively that citizens of the states have a right to travel without approval or restriction, in parentheses, license, and that this right is protected under the U.S. Constitution or the Republican Constitution. Here are other court decisions that expound the same facts. Case 3. The right to travel is a part of the liberty of which the citizen cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. Kent versus Dulles 357. Case number 4. Undoubtedly, the right of locomotion, the right to remove from one place to another according to inclination, is an attribute of personal liberty, and the right ordinarily of free transit from or through the territory of any state is a right secured by the 14th Amendment and by other provisions of the Constitution. Stratman versus Dulles, and that's SCHACTMAN versus Dulles, and the 14th Amendment is not necessary for our people. So I don't even give credence to that 14th Amendment. And we continue. Fundamental right. As hard as it is for those of us in law enforcement to believe, partner interjection. Now this is coming from the officer. Now this is so-called an officer, policy enforcer, because you can tell how he's speaking, or he or she is speaking. As hard as it is for those of us in law enforcement to believe, there is no room for speculation in these court decisions. The American citizen does indeed have the inalienable right to use the roadways unrestricted in any manner as long as they are not damaging or violating property or rights of another. Now let's get that right there. Pardon the interjection. Let's get that and expound on that, because this will help any of y'all in any of your cases when you bring these Supreme Court cases into these inferior courts, so-called traffic, trade, or commerce courts. As hard as it is for those of us in law enforcement to believe, there is no room for speculation in these court decisions. The American citizen does indeed have the inalienable right to use the roadways unrestricted in any manner as long as they are not, now get this, damaging or violating property or rights of another. So there has to be an injured party for a crime to exist. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one because of this exercise of constitutional rights. Pardon me. Shearer versus Cullen. Sherar versus Cullen. 481. There is no question that a citation/ticket issued by a police officer for no driver's license, no current vehicle registration, no vehicle insurance, etc., which carries a fine or jail time, is a penalty or sanction, and is indeed converting a right into a crime, my people, which is a violation of your rights. And we continue. We can go on quoting court decisions after court decisions. However, in addition, the Constitution itself answers our question. Can a government legally put restrictions on the rights of the American people at any time for any reason? Such as in this particular case, when the government believes it to be for the safety and welfare of the people. The answer is found in Article 6 of the United States Republican Constitution. Now listen to that. We keep kicking that Article 6 Supremacy Clause. Remember, we Moorish Americans, we kick that. All right, we put that out there too. Number one, we put that out there. And we continue. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. This tells us that the U.S. Constitution, or the Republican Constitution, is to be upheld over any state, county, or city laws that are in opposition to it. So all judges in every state, every county must uphold the Constitution. Because if they don't, that's treason. And the punishment for treason till this day is death by beheading. And we continue. In the same article, it goes on to say just who it is within our governments that is bound by this supreme law. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Article 6. We know that police officers are a part of the executive branch. We are executive officers, pardon the interjection. So this lets you know this is a policy enforcer who is writing this, or who is giving this document that I'm conveying to y'all now, family. So this is coming from a policy enforcer, someone who is trying to do the right thing and trying to walk the right and fine thin blue line. And we continue. Article 6 above is called the Supremacy Clause. And it clearly states that under every circumstance, the above listed officials in this United States must hold this document's tenets supreme over any other laws, regulation, or orders. Every U.S. police officer knows that they have sworn an oath to the people of our nation that we will not only protect their lives and property, but that we will uphold and protect their freedoms and rights under the supreme laws of this nation, the United States Constitution, Republican Constitution. In this regard, then, we must agree that those within government that restrict a citizen's rights, such as restricting a people's right to travel, are acting in violation of his or her oath of office and are actually committing a crime against such citizens or people. Here's an interesting question. Is ignorance of these laws an excuse for such acts by officials? If we are to follow the letter of the law, as we are sworn to do, again, partner interjection, this person is an officer or policy enforcer who has been sworn to uphold the Constitution, so he's an insider. And we continue. This places officials that involve themselves in such unlawful acts in an unfavorable legal situation, in an unfavorable legal situation. Start hitting their pockets, my people. Start hitting their pockets. Start suing these people. I'm doing it. Check it out. And we continue. For it is a felony. It is a felony. It is a felony and federal crime to violate or deprive citizens of their constitutionally protected rights. Our system of law dictates the fact that there are only two ways to legally remove a right belonging to the people. These are, number one, by lawfully amending the Constitution, or two, by a person knowingly waiving a particular right, which, partner interjection, I reserve all my rights. On anything I sign or say, I reserve all my rights. And we continue. Some of the confusion in our present system has arisen because many millions of people have waived their rights to travel unrestricted upon the roadways of the states and opt into the jurisdiction of the state for various reasons. Those who have knowingly given up these rights are now legally regulated by state law. The proper courts and sworn, constitutionally empowered officers of the law and must acquire proper permits, registrations, insurance, etc. Because so that's saying they're constitutionally empowered officers of the law. They're saying you work for them. You work for them if you have a license. And we continue. There are basically two groups of people in this category. Number one, any citizen that involves themselves in commerce, business for private gain, in parentheses, upon the highways of the state. Here is what the courts have said about this. For while a citizen has the right to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, that right does not extend to the use of the highways either in whole or in part as a place for private gain. Underlined. For the latter purpose, no person has a vested right to use the highways or the state, of the state, but is a privilege or license which the legislator may grant or withhold at its discretion. State versus Johnson 243p. Other U.S. court cases that confirm and point out the difference between the right of the citizen to travel and a government privilege are Bernie versus Board Board of Railroad Commissioners, State versus City of Spokane, Ex parte Dickey, Dickey versus Davis in parentheses. There are numerous other court decisions that spell out the jurisdiction issue in these two distinctly different activities. However, because of space restrictions, we will leave it up to officers to research it further for themselves. The second group of citizens that are legally under the jurisdiction of the state is the individual citizen who has voluntarily and knowingly waived their right to travel unregulated and unrestricted by requesting placement under such jurisdiction through the acquiescence of a state. Driver's license, vehicle registration, mandatory insurance, etc. In other words, by contract only, in parentheses. Pardon me. We should remember, what makes this legal and not a violation of the individual's common law right to travel unrestricted is that they knowingly volunteer freely by contract to waive their right. If they were forced, coerced, or unknowingly placed under the state's powers, the courts have said it is a clear violation of their rights. This in itself raises a very interesting question. What percentage of people in each state have filed and received licenses, registrations, insurances, etc., after erroneously being advised by their government that it was mandatory? Many of our courts, attorneys, and police officers are just becoming informed about this information issue and the difference between privileges versus rights. We can assure that the majority of those Americans carrying state licenses, vehicle registrations, etc., have no knowledge of the rights they waived in obeying laws such as these that the U.S. Constitution, Republican Constitution, clearly states are unlawful, i.e., laws of no effect, in parentheses. In other words, laws that are not laws at all. Our sworn duty. This is the officer, partner interjection. This is the policy enforcer now. This is coming from a policy enforcer, in parentheses, police officer. The police officer wrote this. An insider now. This is what he say. Our sworn duty. An area of serious consideration for every police officer is to understand that the most important law in our land he has taken an oath to protect, defend, and enforce is not state laws, nor city or county ordinances, but that law that supersedes all other laws in our nation, United States Republican Constitution. If laws in a particular police officer, state, or local community are in conflict with the supreme law or the Constitution or the law of our nation, there is no question that the officer's duty is to uphold the United States Republican Constitution. That's what the policy enforcer should be upholding, and that's what I put on my YouTube channel when they stop me in my travels, and I asked them, do they have a constitution, and where's the constitution they supposed to have, and they supposed to uphold. Part of the interjection, and we continue. What does this mean to the patrol officer, or the peace officer, or the policy enforcer, who will be the only sworn executive officer on the scene? When knowledgeable citizens raise serious objections over possessions of insurances, driver's license, and other restrictions, it definitely means these officers will be faced with a hard decision. Most certainly, if that decision affects states, city, or county revenues, such as the issuing of citations do. Example: if a state legislator, judge, or a superior tells a police officer to proceed and enforce a contradictory, illegal state law rather than the supreme law of this country, what is that sworn officer to do? Although we may not want to hear it, There is but one right answer. And partner interjection, listen to what the policy enforcer is about to say. This is coming from a police officer. Now listen to what he say. It is okay. I'm gonna start from an example here. If a state legislator, judge, or superior tells a police officer to proceed and enforce a contradictory, illegal state law rather than the supreme law of this country, what is the sworn officer to do? Although we may not want to hear it, there is but one right answer. The officer is duty bound to uphold his oath of office and obey the highest laws of the nation. This is our sworn duty, and it's the law. This policy enforcer or police officer just said what they supposed to do. They're supposed to uphold the Constitution, the laws. Because the Constitution does not give you any rights. You are born with them rights inalienable or inalienable. No one can lean against your rights. You have an inalienable rights. So the Constitution don't give you rights. It just protects your rights. And we continue. Such a strong, honest stand taken by a police officer upholding his or her oath of office takes moral strength of character. It will, without question, separate the men from the boys. Such honest and straightforward decisions on behalf of a government official has often caused pressure to be applied to force such officers to set aside or compromise their morals and convictions. As a solace for those brave souls in uniform that will stand up for law and justice, even when it's unpopular or uncomfortable to do so, let me say this. In any legal standoff over a sworn officials violating or upholding their oath of office, those that would side with the violation should, and most often, inevitably lose. So keep violating my people, because you already know you're going to lose. And we continue. Our founding fathers assured us on many occasions the following: defending our freedoms in the face of people that would, for expedience sake or behind the guise for the safety and welfare of the masses, ignore people's rights, would forever demand sacrifice and vigilance from those that desire to remain free. That sounds a little like freedom is not free. Every police officer should keep the following court ruling that was covered earlier in mind before issuing citations in regard to mandatory licensing, registrations, and insurance versus the right of the people to travel unencumbered. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. Miller versus U.S. 230F. And as we have seen, traveling freely, going about one's daily activities, is the exercise of a most basic right. And that goes back to Special Police Officers Bulletin. And like I say, if y'all have any cases that y'all fighting or going against with these traffic, so-called trade commerce tribunals, because they're not no courts. And before I leave you, let me drop this tidbit on you. The so-called policy enforcer that stopped my travels was Corporal P. Johnson. And I'm putting that out there for the record because, yes, we're having court now. Court means outside and mean public. We the people. So Corporal P. Johnson and Agent Steinke, that's his name, I think, Steinke, StkeinE. If I'm not saying it right, I'll get it right to you people, because I'm not scared. I don't fear these people. I don't fear them. They want to put fear in us and make us scared and turn us. Oh no, you get me? No. Okay. Corporal P. Johnson. Check this out. Corporal. Then had to talk to his sergeant. Then had to talk and go to his lieutenant. Now tell me if these are not Military titles. Can someone say military, police, state? I'm not falling for it or having it. This is my land. My people's here. My people's was here. This is not no U.S. This is northwest of Mexico. El Maghrib Al-Aqsa. Al Maghrib Al-Aqsa. However you want to pronounce it. Egypt of the West, or West Africa. I'm a Moor. I'm a Moorish American, and no one's going to take that from me. Ever. Ever. I will go into the next life with that. But just think about that, people. Military police state. You think they don't have it or it's coming? We better beware. It's already here. You're already in a military police state. These were corporals and sergeants and lieutenants. These are military titles. These are not police officers. They're policy enforcers. They're military policy enforcers. But I'm going to just leave y'all with that tidbit. And I love when our master teacher, Taj Tariq Bey, say Provost Marshal. I get it, bruh. I get it. I get it, bruh. I get it, Taj. I get it, brother Taj. Provost Marshal. This is a military police state. We're not in the military. What you going into the courts for and seeing the yellow fringes around the flag for, which represents maritime or military? That judge or so-called administrative magistrate is a military officer, has military experience. If you look up their resume, you're going into a military tribunal as a so-called citizen or civilian. But I'm just going to leave that with you. And like I say, always don't believe me. Go check it out for yourself and you'll be amazed at the jewels you'll find on your treasure hunt. This is Supreme L, and I will say thank you for joining me again on Partner Interjection. It's always been love and energetic. Until next time, Islam, love, and peace forevermore.
Can't stab your enemy holding the blade of the knife. Numbskull MCs throw so dull that I'm pulling down Orishas like skull caps to torture the rapper, scissor sippers, rapper CD scratcher, insert ripper. Call me Jack and get slapped though. Admiral when I flow, major like macro. Don't spit on a cameraman like Pac will, but beat the case like Black Bill, but no lawyer. Ask Jim Carrey, liars do nothing for you while they get rich and pour you. Make you follow magistrate orders that get the coke to snort from wood corners and block ghetto. All I see is rappers, dress codes, repedo, tight shirts, skinny jeans looking like heavy metal bands. I'm not babe but L like bread and hands. I grab mics, no sweat in hands, with birthright brands. I don't worry about getting scammed. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what true are we started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what true are we started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what true are we started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what true are we started dropping it.